Okay, session one, gather, grow, go. We are looking at this idea of, in Hebrews 10, of gathering together to encourage one another to love and good works. And so this is that whole process of encouraging one another, so kind of that growth idea, gathering together, not neglecting to gather together one another, and then going, so love and good works. So we're doing what we've grown in, and we're growing because we've gathered together. Okay, so in your meditation time, in Hebrews 10, 24 through 25, you're looking for those things. So as you meet with your group and you're talking through their meditation time and talking through that meditation, the memorization, and kind of hearing them memorize it, and you're asking them questions, hopefully y'all can have a discussion on how gather, grow, go relates to this verse. But there are some Bible study passages we've given you with some questions. So let's work through those real quick. 2 Timothy 2:2. So we're asking questions primarily about discipleship-oriented relationships, so gathering together. So Timothy being discipled. And what you're doing with that first question is you're looking at who discipled Timothy and who Timothy is will or discipled, and who's discipled Paul, and kind of all those different relationships. Because if you ask just who discipled Paul, then you miss that concept of who's discipling Timothy. So what you're doing when you're sitting down is going, how many generations are there here? And then you're reflecting as a group and going, how many generations here? So ask each other, how are we making disciples? How are we being made into disciples in those moments? The commit in this text, the commit the word of God into your heart kind of concept, you're asking how these disciples are committing the word of God into their heart, that when they go, it's an overflow, an expression of their hearts. So discipleship essentially is that for Jesus. What he's doing is he's transferring his word and his actions into his disciples so that his words and actions may be an overflow from their life into others. So committing the word of God into your heart. Look at the wider context of the verse. What kind of expectations do you see for a discipleship-oriented relationship? So what you're looking at is around these verses, is there anything that kind of sets up the ability to be able to ask some of these questions? So you're looking for verses that say anything to the effect of that allow for Timothy to be able to be in the position he's in, or allow for Paul to be in the leadership position he is in with Timothy. And so then we're emulating that. So we're trying to pick those things out to be able to say, this set up a discipleship-oriented relationship. Maybe we should do this too. And then finally, the last question, what do you think would enable Paul to be able to write 3:10 through 11? So you're looking at things that in Paul's life that allow him to be able to say that in that way. Hebrews 10, 19 through 25. Again, this is reflecting on the memory verse, the verse that we meditated on. So what is the sanctuary of God? It's shifted from the Old Testament to the New. This is significant for people to understand. Then, why can we have boldness to enter into the sanctuary of God? What's that confidence? Where does it come from? So this is pointing to, if we're gathering together with God and others, what does it look like to be in God's presence? And how can we enter in with boldness? Even together as a church, gathering together. Third question, what do you think it means to draw near with a true heart? So different than, I love the idea of drawing near to the Lord. Just this idea that God's drawing us and we're drawing near. So it's this kind of both and. We're working together as we pursue after God. He's pursuing after us. It's just this really beautiful picture. Hebrews tells us it's with a true heart. And so I think this even further refines it to say that we're not just gathering together. We're not just growing together, but it's got to be with a heart that is intent. Not just to pursue, but pursuing with a true heart. I think there are some that have this pursuit of God, this following after God, but it's not with an authentic heart. So you can gather you can gather in certain ways, you can grow in certain ways, and you can go in certain ways without ever being together with others. Now, the key here is what we're trying to understand to get together is that we're gathering with God and others. So we are a church, a faith-believing group of people who fan to flame spiritual gifts and spiritual disciplines. We do those things together. We've committed to do those things together because we are our church. And so we're drawing near with a true heart together. We're not just in pursuit of Jesus in an unhealthy way, but in a pure and authentic way. You can read the Bible all day long at home, but not have an authentic heart of pursuing after God just for knowledge, and it's not with a true heart. It's just simply for information. So the last question, why is it important to not neglect together? So this is similar to what we were just saying, is basically what you're doing here is you're giving the opportunity for you to move into a really good conversation about how it's important to do life together. It's important to grow together. It's important to go together. We're not just reading the Bible alone. We're reading the Bible together, reflecting in a community. Just like Jesus with his disciples, we're doing this as a group. Okay, so what are you trying to get to? All right, I want to ask this each time we do this session so that you know, as you're going into this session, kind of why this session is asked these questions. Why are we memorizing this verse? What are you getting towards? You're getting towards a moment where you as a group, in signing that discipleship covenant, you're able to say, guys, we're in this together. Ladies, we're in this together. If you're in a girls group or a guys group, we're in this together. We're going to defend one another. We're going to support one another. Encourage one another to do love and good works. We're going to encourage one another to continue to gather together and not neglect gathering together. We got to be consistent with our getting together. We're going to enter into the throne room. We're going to be in the presence of God together when we come together. We're not just worshiping and in the presence of God on Sunday mornings at a certain time with a certain amount of music. We are when we gather together, we are gathering into the presence of the Lord together. So it's reflecting on all those different things that you see in the discipleship covenant that are backed by this biblical study, these questions, and specifically this meditation verse. All right, I will be praying for you. I constantly pray for our D groups. I will be praying for you. You are on a list of who I keep accountable and who I pray for. So I'm praying as you go into this session 1 that it is fruitful, that God uses you in a mighty way. Thanks, and we love you guys.